Hello and welcome back to Pep Talks. How are you doing? I genuinely hope this week has been a kind one. And I don't know about you guys, but as I'm recording this, we are about to go into a heat wave. We're about to go into some actual blue skies and some actual sunshine. And yeah, it's been cold and wet and miserable here in Devon the last week or two. So I am very much looking forward to enjoying some sunshine, getting out on the water, getting down to the beach, and just getting my body out there in some warmth. And I hope you are managing to take advantage of this glorious weather too, if it is still with us when this episode goes live. So let's get into today's episode. I have been having a lot of conversations lately with clients, with women I meet at events, even if in my own head, if I'm honest. And I keep coming back to the same place. And it's one of those things that once you name it, you can't see it. You can't not see it, rather. You suddenly see it everywhere. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to ask you something first, though. Does your business feel like something you're driving or something you're chasing? Because there is a really big difference between those two things. And I think a lot of us, more often than we'd like to admit, are in chase mode, responding to what comes in, reacting to what lands in our inbox or our direct messages, waiting to see what happens next before we decide what to do. And on the surface, that can look like flexibility. It can even feel like going with the flow. But I want to gently challenge that today because I don't think it's flow at all. I think it's something else entirely. I think it's you running your business in reactive mode. And I think it might be costing you more than you realize, not just in your business, but in your body. Let's talk about that. So, what do I mean when I say reactive mode? Reactive mode is when your business is being led by what arrives rather than what you've chosen. It's responding to jobs as they come in rather than having a pipeline that you've actually created. It's posting on social media when you suddenly remember you haven't posted rather than because you've got something intentional to say or because you've got some sort of strategy behind your social media postings. It's filling your diary based on who asks, not based on what you've decided your week and your schedule should look like and needs to look like for your own sanity. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not here to make you feel bad about any of this because honestly, it's incredibly common, especially for women who are running passion-led businesses alongside full lives, caring responsibilities, maybe a part-time job, where the idea of being proactive and creating a plan feels like just one more thing to add to that ever-ending mental to-do list that's already way too long. But here's what I want you to understand. And this is the bit that really changed how I think about this. Being in reactive mode isn't just a productivity problem, it's a nervous system problem too. When you are the one responding rather than directing, your body registers that. You are not in control of the forward motion, and your nervous system, which is constantly scanning for safety, notices that you're not in the driving seat, and it finds that really unsettling. You might not label it as that. You might just notice that you feel vaguely anxious, or that you can't quite switch off, or that you're busy but somehow feeling like you're getting nowhere. And that feels deeply uncomfortable in a way that's hard to put your finger on. That feeling, that's your nervous system responding to a lack of agency, a lack of you being in control. Now, we are wired to feel safe, and we feel safer when we have a sense of control over what's coming next. Not with certainty, because we can't have that, but with direction and focus, a sense that we are walking towards something we've chosen rather than being pulled along by whatever shows up. And when that's missing, even if your days are full, even if you're working hard, there's a kind of low level dysregulation that sits underneath it all, a background hum of unease. Now, what I want to bring, let me start that again. Now, what I want to bring in here is something that I think is really important, particularly for the women listening to this who are building those service-based, passion-led businesses. A lot of us come or came to our businesses through a genuine desire to help people. We're not the kind of women who have gone into business just because we want to earn money, and certainly not because we love systems or spreadsheets or strategic planning. We've chosen to be in business because we care, because we have something real to offer to the world, and because we want to make a difference. And that is beautiful. But it also means that responding to what arrives can feel like the right thing to do. It can feel like us being helpful, being available, being generous. It can feel more us than sitting down and deciding in advance with intention what we're actually going after. I'll say that again. It can feel more like us than sitting down and deciding in advance with intention what we're actually going to go after. So we tell ourselves we're being flexible, or we're being led by the universe, or we're just seeing what feels right. And sometimes that is what's happening. But sometimes, and I say this with love, it's avoidance dressed up as ease. Because choosing in advance what we're going to do, that requires us to commit. And committing means we might get it wrong. And getting it wrong feels scary, especially when we're already not entirely sure we know what we're doing. So we wait, we respond, we react, and then we wonder why we feel like we're always on the back foot. So here's the thing I want you to try this week. And I mean this as a really small, gentle invitation, not another thing to add to your to-do list. Just notice, that's all. Notice when you're operating from a place of choice, and notice when you're operating from a place of reaction. Notice how each one feels in your body, because I think you already know the difference. You just perhaps don't have the language for it yet, or maybe you're not consciously noticing it yet. Those proactive moments, even the small ones, like deciding you're going to reach out to someone rather than waiting for them to come to you, or choosing what you're going to talk about this week, rather than waiting for inspiration to strike, those moments tend to feel different. They tend to feel more grounded, more yours, like you are the one in control. Things flow more easily if you have this grounded control. You won't be eating into your precious energy with constantly thinking about the next thing and constantly thinking on your feet, needing to adapt to whatever next comes your way. That investment of time and energy to make that decision and commit to it will free up more time and more energy so that when you actually sit down to do the thing, you're not having to think about it. You're just doing it. You've already decided. You've already committed. You're going to free up time and energy. Whereas the reactive moments, when they seem to work out fine, they often carry a level of low-grade stress, even when they seem to be fine. That feeling of being slightly behind, slightly breathless, slightly out of step with your goals, and that beautiful vision you have for your business and your life also feels out of step. That's the distinction I want you to get curious about, not to judge yourself for the reactive bits, but to notice them. Because that's where change starts. When we notice, when we get aware. And with that awareness and with that conscious noticing, we can start to shift things. We can shift out of reactive mode and into proactive mode. We can settle the nervous system. We can bring more ease. We can create more time and more flow and more energy. You are truly in flow rather than just waiting for the next thing to come your way. I want to finish with this. Building a business that feels good, that doesn't sacrifice your health, your relationships, or your sense of self, is not just about what you do. It's about how you relate to what you do. And one of the most powerful shifts I see in the women I work with is this movement from the reactive to the proactive, moving out of waiting and into choosing. And instead of just responding, you start leading. It doesn't require a massive overhaul. It doesn't require you to have a perfect system or a 5-year plan. It usually starts with something as small as deciding in advance, with intention, what one thing you're going to move towards this week. Not reacting to, moving towards. What one thing are you going to do this week to move towards your goals? Because when you do that, when you get back in that driving seat, your nervous system notices. And that background hum of unease, it starts to quieten down. And you start to feel a little more like you're running your business rather than your business is running you. And that, to me, is what building something sustainable actually looks like. Now, if this has resonated with you today, if you recognize yourself in that pattern of reactive mode, that sense of always being just a little bit behind yourself, I would love to have a conversation with you. This is exactly the kind of work I work with my clients on. Not by adding more to your plate, but by helping you get clear on where to actually focus your time and your energy, so that the effort you're already putting in starts to create real momentum. You can book a no obligation chat with me. The link is down there in the show notes for you, and we can talk about where you are right now and what the next right step is for you. And it might be with me and it might not, and that is all okay, but let's at least have a conversation. And of course, as ever, if you've enjoyed today's episode, I would absolutely love it if you shared it with someone who you think might need to hear this. You never know whose week it might change. Have a fantastic week yourself, and I will be back with you very, very soon.